Okay, we are starting to get into the real meat of topic 6, which is adding and subtracting decimals. And keep in mind that our whole goal is to be able to add and subtract decimals, and you're going to have several different ways to do that. And the first way is by using hundredths grids. So you have to first understand, I know you've seen these before when we had whole numbers, but how does it apply to decimals? Well, say for instance, we had the decimal 1 and 54 hundredths, or it looks like money, $1.54. How would we go about filling in the grids below? Well, we know we have a whole number 1 over here, which means one whole grid is going to be filled in. I'm going to do that now. Okay, see how I sort of shaded in? If I shaded in, you wouldn't be able to see the boxes anymore, so that's why I did the squiggly lines. But this is supposed to represent one whole grid filled in. And I think you can see that. So now, how would the decimal part of that look? We've got 54 hundredths. Well, lucky for us, the second box, or these boxes here, have 100 squares. So how many do you think I fill in? That's right, 54 of them. All right, so I finished filling in the 54s. I spared you all that time. What you're going to do is you can use colored crayons tonight, or you can just shade when we're doing these grids, but you want to do light shading and dark shading so that you can see the next step. And this is where we're adding our spice. Now what we want to do is we want to add to $1.54 or to 1 and 54 hundredths. I'm going to add this, 18 hundredths. So if you just had the 1800 part, you know you would just fill in 18 things. But we have 154 already shaded. So we're simply just going to add the 18 hundredths right onto our grid like this. So right here is going to be 6 of them. And if I shade in, I'm using my favorite colors, orange and blue. If I shade in that, now I have 16, 17, 18. So if I were to write what the answer was, it's the blue plus the orange that equals all that area. And so I'm going to put this 0.18, and I'm just going to add it up. I know I have one full one totally done, so that's 1, and now I just simply add up here 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 rows, and 2 little squares down at the bottom. So the answer to 1 and 54 hundredths plus 18 hundredths is 1.72, or 1 and 72 hundredths. All right, let's try another one. Okay, I left this grid because I'm going to use the number 1.2 plus, I want to add 0.56 to it. Okay, so if you're looking at that, I always start with the first number. That's the first grid you're going to fill in, and then you add to it. So the first number is 1.2, but I already see that I have kind of a problem because look at this number. It doesn't have 2 digits behind the decimal. There's something missing here. And I need to have it 2 digits behind the decimal because I'm doing hundredths grids, not tenths grids. So I'm just going to simply rewrite this as 1.2. And do you guys remember what you add? It doesn't change the value, but yet we can add it so it looks like what we want it to look like. Yes, that's right. We add a 0. Now I'll just use the other parts here, 0.56. All right, so if I want to do the first number, I've got the first part done. I'm going to add 20 hundredths. So that means I'm going to simply shade in 20 hundredths. But I want to add to that plus 56 hundredths, which would mean I would color in 56. So here I go. Now, the reason that you're being shown this is not how your parents learned how to add and subtract decimals, but we're doing this because it will probably show up on a future assessment known as the FCAT. I know we don't like to say that word really loud, but I also don't want you to be surprised when you get to that day when we're taking the test and all of a sudden they're showing decimals in hundredths grids. So you will have been exposed to this, and hopefully you'll become an ace. I'm sure you will. It's not too hard. All right, let's just double check here that I actually did shade in 5, 6. So we go 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so if I want to know the total, I'm going to add up all the squares that are shaded. I have 100, or 1 whole, shaded over here, right there, And then I have a total over here of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76. So the answer to that problem is 1 76 hundredths. All right, now let's try some subtraction. Okay, well, subtraction's almost exactly the same, except for instead of adding on, you're going to subtract off. So what I did was, as you would do every time you go to do a decimal and you're using the hundredths grid, is you're going to take the first one and you're going to shade it in completely. So notice here I have 2.02 and 2 hundredths. So this is 2, the 2 part, and this decimal is the 0.02. Now what we want to do is we're going to subtract or take away 0.48. Well, the way we do that is we don't add anything here. We actually are going to take away from what's already there that is shaded. So we do this by Xing. So if I start Xing, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then I'm just going to X out some more until I get to what number? Do you remember what we're trying to take off? That's right, 48. So I have 22. Am I to stop here? No, I got to keep going because I got to take off 48. Now your graphs are probably going to look a lot better because I'm not able to shade, or you wouldn't be able to see the squares. All right, right now I have 42. And I need to get to 48, so I'm going to cross out 6 more. So essentially this right here has been chopped off or fruit ninja'd. All of it is gone. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to count up the remaining shaded blue area. So we have 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. We didn't take any away from the first, so that's one whole. Now we got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 50 rows of 10, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56. So if I start off with $2.02 and subtract 48 cents, I'm going to end up with $1.56 or 1 56 hundredths. All right, let's do one last one, and I think you guys probably got this. All right, here's our last example, and I think you probably already noticed that we have a little bit of a problem. This number here does not look like the second number because it doesn't have 2 numbers behind the decimal. We're missing something here. So let's go ahead and rewrite that so it looks like how I want it to look. All right, it would be the same thing you're going to do for all of the ways to add and subtract decimals, is make sure that both decimals look the same. Now, I went ahead so that you didn't have to watch me color all of that in. I know you guys think it might look cool, but you don't want to sit and watch me actually do it. So in order to represent this number right here, I'm going to fill in 3 full grids. So this represents 3.00. Now what I need to do is take away 1 47 hundredths, and the way to do that is to X it out. So that you're not watching me color my 2 favorite colors, I'm going to speed this up a little bit. If I want to take off 147, I'm going to take off a whole 1. This is now all going to be chopped, gator chomped if you want to call it that. That's no longer there. And then now I'm going to take off this, and we'll go the other direction so you can see them crossing out. And how many of these should I be marking off over here? That's right, 47, because I already took care of the one whole one over there. So I'm at 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47. So this essentially, and I'm actually going to outline it so you know what is no longer there. This is gone. So from here to here is gone. So the only thing I need to do now is to add up the rest of the blue shaded area that's left. We have a whole one right here. Okay, so that's 1. And then 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 51, 52, 53. 0.53. 1 53 hundredths. All right. I think you probably have enough information now to do this on your own. Just make sure that you take the notes and answer the questions for homework tonight. Thank you.